Our next story brought to mind this question. If we didn't have football fields, how would we measure really, really big things? Well, the question came up because of the PBS documentary about life on board an aircraft carrier. And Anne-Marie Berger's story tonight about a local man who knows all about that sort of thing.
Well, we know where we're going, but we don't know where we've been.
The PBS documentary Carrier details life on an aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz, through a 6-month deployment during Operation Iraqi Freedom in the Persian Gulf. In this 10-part series, the show reveals the dangers, stress, rewards, conflicts, and relationships that develop while living on a nuclear-powered warship. Garrett Kasper of St. Peter's is a 12-year naval veteran now serving in the Navy Reserves, and he knows all about life on an aircraft carrier. During his career, Kasper was designated a Navy Public Affairs Officer and reported for duty aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier in 2000.
Once you set sail, that's it. All you know is that 1,000-foot chunk of steel that floats. I mean, that's basically it. It's like being locked in a building the size roughly of the Empire State Building with 5,000 of your closest friends for 6 months at a time.
The Nimitz-class supercarriers are the largest warships in the world. There are 9 in operation, and the 10th and last of the class, the George H.W. Bush, is under construction.
The aircraft carrier is probably one of the single most important tools in our nation's defense. And the simple reason is, it's called 100,000 tons of diplomacy, and we can put it anywhere in the world. And invariably, anytime there is a conflict in the world, the President of the United States will ask where the nearest aircraft carrier is, because we can sail that vessel. That's 4.5 acres of sovereign U.S. territory, can sail through international waters, and as long as they stay 12 miles off the coast, now we are there ready to react at a moment's notice.
A Nimitz-class aircraft carrier is massive. The area of the flight deck is equivalent to the playing fields in Bush Stadium, the Scott Trade Center, and the Edward Jones Dome combined. There are 2 anchors, and including the chain, each one weighs 735,000 pounds. A carrier distills 400,000 gallons of fresh water per day, serves 18,000 meals per day, and has approximately 29,000 light fixtures. They even have their own zip code.
And you have to look at it like a city. It is essentially a floating city with more than 5,000 people. Okay? And you have your mayor, who's the commanding officer, and the city manager, who's the executive officer, and then there are all the different department heads. And somebody's public works, that's basically engineering department, who's working everything from the water and the propulsion and the electricity. And then you have supply, who's working things like the budget and the money. And then you have, well, essentially the town spokesman or the town crier, which is the public affairs officer. And it's overwhelming when you see a vessel that big. A vessel that is as long as the Empire State Building is tall. And oh, by the way, there's 70 airplanes on board, and they land and they take off in roughly 30-second intervals. You can barely get your arms around it.
And landing on an aircraft carrier is not the same as a typical land-based runway. There are more risks.
Looks off to me. Right to line up. Oh, God! Fucking A.
The landing strip is shorter, and the plane must hook to a wire in order to slow it down, preventing it from going over the side.
But here's where it gets difficult. Ships aren't like runways. They go up and down. They go left and right. They pitch and they yaw. So you may have a perfect 3-wire hook, but the ship may just back down just a little bit, and your hook may go right over that wire. So you'll catch the next wire. At least that's how it's designed.
Kasper explains that the majority of real estate on a carrier is between the flight deck and the hangar bay, and there is no way to ignore the arrival and departure of an F-18 Super Hornet.
If you can't hear it, then you need to go to medical and get your ears checked.
Kasper says you get used to a certain lifestyle in the Navy, and after 12 years of active duty, he's trying to adjust to being a civilian again, at least part-time.
And going home and getting your land legs back and dealing with becoming a husband again and a father again and trying to negotiate all these things. But the nice thing is that now as a member of the Navy Reserves, I'm still serving my country. I'm still doing the Navy thing.